I do want to transition to like what's coming as we kind of look ahead. It's July, early July. 8%'s come up in a few days. We've got AEP coming up in a couple months. But agents are starting to transit, whether it's like AEP or the enrollment season and just like, or the future of their business or like cramming in a bunch of business the next 6 months. Like, as we start to plan ahead, what advice do you give to agents and what do you think through and do when you're starting to plan ahead to the future?
Specific to AEP, I think the first thing that an agent has to do is they need to take stock of their book of business. Like, the first step for any successful agent is zero loss. So how do you get there? Like, you have to understand what does my membership look like? What plans are they in? And of the plans where I have consumers, are any of them at risk? And I'll give you a great example.
Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins, and we are bringing him back again and again and again. We've had this gentleman, super impressive, drops as good of content and knowledge and education as anyone we interview or have on a webinar or a stage. Please welcome back from Neishloss Fleming, Mr. Bill Kiray. What is up, Bill?
Hey, Cody. Good afternoon. How you doing, my friend?
I am amazing. Love hanging out with you. You have a great personality, bring awesome energy. Amazing info. We have a blast when we eat dinner together. You probably have a blast with everybody you hang out with, though.
I would say for the most part, I'm able to find fun no matter where I'm at. Because if you're not doing that, what are you doing? Just try to make the best out of it all.
Yeah, amen to that. I'm actually going to stay on that topic before we transition. But guys, as you're joining and listening today, we're going to be really focused on forward thinking, planning ahead, AEP, what's coming, helping agents prepare. How's this year different than others? What should you do in the future to really start to grow and scale your company, et cetera. Bill's also got some, I'm going to throw this in here. He's also got some like wild, amazing, incredible concept for 8% this year that we technically still have a few more tickets for, 8%nation.com/Dallas, that you need to hear about. He just told me about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen anybody do that. And I'm so excited for what's to come. Don't clue them in, but hype it up a little bit. Like, you got some special stuff planned for the conference.
I do. I would say that without giving it away, we will be talking about building a phenomenal stream of revenue, and I will potentially be walking on stage with a check for $2 million.
Whoa. Okay. I like that, man. That is good. Let's go. That is good. Okay.
So if you want to see who gets the $2 million check, you got to come to 8% Nation.
Let's go. Yes, sir. You definitely do. You mentioned a second ago too, like having fun. I feel like you have a lot of fun. I mean, shoot, you're doing karaoke in Scottsdale, Phoenix area, for 1%. Like, you do have fun. You enjoy what you do. You love what you do. What advice would you give to an agent that's like, dude, I'm not having fun yet. I think I can. I want to, but I'm not having fun yet. I'm struggling.
So I think on that subject, Cody, the advice that I would give, not just any insurance agent, but any human being, that they're working and they're not having fun. You need to seek out other people that are in the business that you're trying to be in, who appear to be having fun, and determine what's the difference between how you approach the business and how I'm approaching the business right now. And if you can't get to the point where you're having fun, you need to get out. And I'll give you a great story. We had a person working here at Neishloss Fleming, was one of our marketers. She was talented, she was good on the phone, but she didn't love it. She just kind of liked it. And we had a conversation one day, and I said, listen, whether or not you work here for 20 years like I have, or whether you work here for another 20 hours, it doesn't matter to me. The only thing that does matter to me is that you determine if you're going to love this or not. Because if you don't love it, you won't ever be great at it. Like, and that, I tell people that all the time, like, you cannot be great at something that you do not love. You may be decent at it. You may be mediocre. You're very likely going to be bad. But if you can't figure out how to love what you're doing, find something else to do, because you should always want to be doing something you can be great at.
Yes, that's such good advice. That does pertain to literally everything in life.
Yeah.
Whether it's playing a sport as a kid and not having a blast and being obsessed with it. Like if you don't, you're just not going to be any good at it because you're just not going to put your heart and soul into it. Phenomenal words of wisdom. Thank you for being on the podcast. Have a phenomenal day. Just kidding. Okay. That was enough value. We're done. I do want to transition to like what's coming as we kind of look ahead. It's July, early July. 8%'s come up in a few days. We've got AEP coming up in a couple months. But agents are starting to transit, whether it's like AEP or the enrollment season and just like, or the future of their business or like cramming in a bunch of business the next 6 months. Like, as we start to plan ahead, what advice do you give to agents and what do you think through and do when you're starting to plan ahead to the future?
So I guess, Cody, are we talking specifically when planning ahead for Medicare AEP or trying to plan my next vacation? I just want to be clear.
Yeah, let's do AEP. That's a good point.
Okay.
Let's do AEP.
Yeah. So,
but you did just get back from San Diego, and he's got a nice tan rocking. So maybe he could probably give advice on the vacation piece. But we'll skip that for today.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I would say is if I had checked the weather forecast, I would have known that it never gets warm enough to go in the ocean. So planning ahead might have been good for the vacation, but
that's funny.
Specific to AEP, I think the first thing that an agent has to do is they need to take stock of their book of business. Like, the first step for any successful agent is zero loss. So how do you get there? Like you have to understand what does my membership look like? What plans are they in? And of the plans where I have consumers, are any of them at risk? And I'll give you a great example. So I was having a conversation with a pretty large agency that does business with us. They have a very large block of business in a particular set of plans where the star ratings are dropping significantly. They're going from 4.5 to 3.5 or 4 to 3, but it's a full star rating drop. And what that means in the Medicare business is that plan is going to have way less revenue to invest in benefits for 2024. And even without seeing the first looks, we know their benefits are going to tank. So I said to this agency, you better be very clear on having a plan for being able to move a lot of these members, because before we even get the first looks, we know the benefits are going down the tubes. We know that. I mean, that's been fairly consistent with almost every single carrier that we've seen lose a full star rating point. So that's just an example. Like you have to understand, where are my members? Where are they located? Do I think I've got a year where my membership is really stable and I can put 90% of my effort into new business growth? Or do I have a year where a lot of my membership may be at risk? A lot of those people may be shopping, and they better be shopping with me. Because if they're shopping with somebody else, that's revenue that's walking out the back door over and over again.
True. Yeah. And here's a couple things I was thinking from that. So why would why would their star rating dip, and then why would carriers, just so an agent can understand that concept, because I don't understand it actually, why would a carrier lose benefits, offer a worse plan, drop in star ratings? Help us understand that. How does that work?
So the base level issue is that the federal government ties how much money they pay the health insurance company to their quality rating. So a company that has a 4.5 or 5-star rating is going to get more money per member per month from the federal government than a company that's at 3 or 3.5 stars. So if you're rolling along and you've got 50,000 members in a plan and you're rolling along at 4.5 stars, and then all of a sudden your quality rating year over year drops from 4.5 to 3.5, there is a massive amount of money that you're not going to be receiving the following year because your star rating went down. Like, no one, to be honest, Cody, no one paid any attention to star ratings until the federal government tied the money to the star rating. And then all of a sudden the carrier's like, we got to get super focused on quality. And so that's one of the exercises we go through here at Neishloss and Fleming every year. When the star ratings come out, it's like, okay, we now know that if we've got a company that is moving up in star rating, maybe they were at 3.5 and they really invested in service and quality and performance, and their starting rating goes from 3.5 to 4.5. We know that company is going to be swimming in cash, and they're going to invest it very heavily back into benefits. On the flip side, If we've got a company that goes from 5 to 4 or 4.5 to 3.5 or 4 to 3, we know they're going to have a lot less money to work with. And as opposed to posting a loss, they're going to have to cut on benefits. So that's the basic premise, is that the money the insurance companies get from the Fed is tied directly to the quality rating. So an agent can usually understand in April, May, June, well before the next year's benefits come out, what membership is probably going to be at risk.
Yeah, that's man, that is pure gold. I've never heard anyone explain it that way ever. Like, not even close. That was amazing. That needs to be like its own clip. That was good.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too. I mean, if you're thinking about how to grow aggressively, we'll have agents say to us, how do I know where to project that lead returns are going to be the highest? And it's not an exact science, but if you think about it, who's the person that responds to a lead card? Like if you're, Bob and Susie Smith in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, and you had a plan last year and you get your ANOC kit, you get your next year's benefits, and it's the same darn thing. It's premiums the same, benefits are basically the same. Maybe you got a $5 movement on a copay here or there, whatever. Are you moving? No, because you don't want to deal with that. You don't. You're probably not paying attention to all of the clowns on television advertising for you to call in the Medicare helpline. You're not paying attention to direct mail. You'll scroll right past ads on Facebook, because guess what? Your plan's staying the same and you were happy with your plan. But we tell agents, if you look for a market, like with the star rating thing, okay, where some plan with a lot of membership is going sideways, that there's going to be a whole lot more people who are upset, who are concerned, and lead response will spike in those areas. And while, like I said, while it's not an exact science, if you say, okay, where are there plans that are going sideways? What counties is the membership in? That's where I'm going to focus my lead buy. That's a real good way to be effective and efficient.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Also, how like, it's funny you say this, because like I just saw a billboard in Springfield, Missouri, where this certain Medicare Advantage carrier has a 5-star rating in our area this year, and it's everywhere. You know what I mean? Because it's like they've got an influx and they're making sure everybody knows, and they're flexing on us. And it's
Yeah, and here's the funny thing though: consumers, by and large, I don't think they get what the star rating means. Like if you went Family Feud style and you had 100 Medicare beneficiaries and went a Medicare star rating means, survey says 99 out of 100 would say I don't know.
Yeah.
So and that was interesting, because in 20
or like based on reviews or something. It wouldn't be based on benefits and all sort of stuff, right? Yeah.
So I don't think that consumers recognize, oh well, I need a 4.5-star plan as opposed to a 3.5, or I need a 5 as opposed to a 4.5. I don't think they get that. I don't think they understand, for the most part, that if there's a 5-star plan in their area, they can use a special election period to get into it at any time. Here's what the consumer does understand. They understand if their premium goes from 0 to 25. They understand if their Part B give back goes from 100 to 60. They understand if their specialist copay goes from 35 to 50, or their inpatient copay goes from 250 per admit to 275 a day. They get that. And that's really how the consumer experiences changes in star ratings when they go sideways, is they look at their benefits and say, I don't know that I like this at all. And then all of a sudden they're much more responsive to direct mail, to television advertisement, to Facebook ads, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I believe it. Okay, so let's transition then too. So, and speaking of transitioning, like if an agent had this happen and a bunch of their block of business was being put in a worse situation, and they need to transition and help it, so they don't have the other agent that comes in, steals a bunch of their clients, how do they then transition those to a different carrier?
Well, I think a lot of that depends. Well, I think there's a couple factors there. The first is, how many members are you talking about? because it's one strategy if you've got 50 people to move. It's another strategy if you've got 300. Those are two very different deals. We work with agents who have it the full gamut of them, but they're two different deals. I would say for the most part, an agent has to be organized. Like they've got to, like if I'm talking to an agent tomorrow and we talk about a particular plan that we've kind of identified, this plan is in trouble. We'll say to them, okay, can you identify in your book of business which of your clients right now, today, which of your clients are in that plan? There are surprisingly few of them that can, because not enough agents have a CRM system. Not enough agents even have an Excel document where they have the exact plan listed. Like I think that if I took like the middle ground with agents, I think the middle ground is an agent has an Excel spreadsheet where they've got the consumer, their contact information, and the carrier they're on. So it may say Aetna, but it doesn't say Aetna Gold HMO. Or it might say United Healthcare, but it doesn't say Medicare Complete Plan 7. I think that's kind of the middle. But one of the things that we'll say to an agent is if we think that they've likely got membership that could be going sideways, it's okay, you need your list right now. You need to get your list of how many people. And if it's 50 or under, then I would tell them you need to make sure that you've got appointments booked with those consumers between October 1st and however long it takes you to work all of them first. Because it's interesting, Deft Research, who's a partner of ours through Integrity, they're the super smart market research firm, like George Dipple and that crew, they're great. But Deft talks all the time about how consumers who are going to switch, maybe they haven't actually switched, but they have decided they're going to switch, like by the 25th of October. So if you don't get to that group of consumers early, you're not getting them. They've already talked to a carrier who's got television advertising. They talked to another agent, whatever. So you got to hit that group early. If you're talking about 50 or more, and then beyond that, even if it's like in that 50 range, but maybe you do a lot of business virtually, so you're spread out all over the place. One of the things that we did, and we did this during COVID. I almost say coded. I was trying to say Cody and then COVID. I couldn't say it. I'm gonna reset, and Dylan can edit this out. I'll start it over. One of the things that we first saw during COVID was agents who had large blocks of business could not physically go out and do member meetings. They weren't allowed. They couldn't do it. And even if they could do it, consumers were too scared to come. So we've had agents come to our video studio and film themselves doing a member meeting about a particular plan or set of plans, and then sending it out to their consumers to watch. Because it's all about how do you replicate yourself and maximize yourself through technology. And if you're a Medicare agent with any block of business and your FMO that you're working with cannot help you replicate yourself through technology, you're just wasting your time. Because the ceiling, the point of critical mass, like the maximum amount of members that you can possibly help efficiently, is so much lower. Like every good piece of technology you get, you expand your bandwidth geometrically, and that's important. It's really important.
Yeah, it is important. It's funny you mentioned organization too. Like when I started out as an agent, I used a literal filing cabinet, and then eventually Excel, which you mentioned, which is just brilliant. Then Dropbox, where it was like PDF in a folder. Yeah. And then I'm like, gosh dang, what am I doing, man? I gotta freaking figure this out. Yeah, it's wild. We got a few more minutes. What else what advice would you give? Just some general advice for an agent that's like, okay, what do I need to start doing to plan ahead and capitalize on these next future months that are coming up if I want to scale and grow aggressively and really grow my book of business?
Yeah, well, like I said, the figuring out handling your book of business first, that's number one. The second piece, and this I think is really important, and why I think we're going to see a number of maybe Medicare supplement agents selling more Medicare Advantages to AEP. There's a big shakeup coming in the PDP market, the standalone drug plans. That from a premium and cost standpoint, I think consumers are going to look really long and hard at maybe I should move to Medicare Advantage. That's something that's coming. So we've already started talking to folks about that. Beyond that, in the low income market, there have been a whole bunch of folks who were on Medicaid before, and because the federal government didn't require that people recertified during COVID for a while, there were a ton of folks who've been carried on Medicaid for a long time that are now being kicked off.
It's a lot of people. It's a lot.
It's a lot of people. So for individuals who may have been engaged in the low income market, there is a lot of consumers out there looking for an agent to help them. But that could be solid. But one of the things that, and I've said this to you, I think maybe the last time we did some video together, was that the biggest mistake agents make is they buy too many leads, and they don't work them hard enough. And in order to understand how much bandwidth you have to be able to maximize your conversion, you've got to know how many members do I have to manage, and then you can plan your lead buys from there. But I think agents this year during AEP, if they're smart and if they're thinking strategically, will have to buy less leads than in any AEP in the last 5 years. Because there's going to be a lot of disruption, between star ratings drops, shake up in the PDP market, Medicaid recertification. Those three things right there should have stirred up so many people that if you're working smarter, not harder, you will spend way less on leads and you will have much more opportunity to write business.
Yes, that's strong. That's such good advice too. We could talk for hours, and I love hanging out with you. Why don't I ask one more question? Okay. What do you think is the biggest mistake outside of buying too many leads? What do you think the biggest mistake that you see agents make year after year? If you had to pinpoint one thing that's man, this is not good, I see it all the time, and I wish it would stop, what comes to mind?
I think the biggest mistake that agents continue to make is that they don't demand enough from their upline. I think that's it. And here's why I say that. There are so many times where I will have folks from our sales team walk into my office and say, hey, I'm talking to an agent. Let's call this agent Bob. Bob's working with an upline, and he's upset that they don't help him service his business. They don't really give him co-op. They don't have the technology he needs. They don't know enough to think strategically around things like star ratings drops or Medicaid recertification, how to get that agent Bob in front of consumers in a very effective and efficient way. And I said, oh, okay, so when is Bob moving to us? I'm assuming Bob's going to transition to us because you've explained this to him. Yeah, well, Bob's just not sure he really wants to ask for a release. And I'm like, okay. And I'm not the big, everyone should release their contracts guy. That's not who I am. But I would say to any agent that's watching, whether it's about Medicare, whether it's about life, whether it's about annuity product, ACA, whatever, if you don't wake up in the morning, have your cup of coffee, and think to yourself, I'm so glad I'm working with organization XYZ because they're important to my success, you should be shopping. Wow. And I believe that. And there are many of my colleagues, Cody, who would say, Bill, you're a crazy person. Why would you say that? And I say it because it's true. Cody, yeah. you were a personal producer. Okay. I wasn't a personal producer like you were, but I've written business. Okay. Yeah. If I were to quit my job at Neishloss Fleming tomorrow and say, I'm going to write business, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to be a Medicare salesperson, I would need to have a partner who helps to be a factor in my success. Otherwise, what are they there for?
Yes.
And I think too many agents just settle for mediocrity when it comes to that. And it's a shame. We'll talk to somebody and they're explaining their problems to us. And it's okay, well, we've got solutions for some of these items. This other thing, maybe we don't, because nobody can fix everyone's problems. I mean, that's a falsehood. Any organization that says we've got the best of everything, they're full of crap. I mean, that's a fact. But
100%.
I'm just amazed that agents don't make a move, or they settle for less than they should when it comes to their business. Like this isn't a hobby. This is your career. So you should constantly be looking for who is going to be integral to my success. And if you're looking at your current upline, no matter what line of business you're in, it doesn't matter. If your current upline is not integral to your success, you should be looking because you deserve it.
So good, man. I love that approach. I totally agree with it. You need to treat it like a real freaking business too. I love that.
Yeah.
Bill, I love having you on the podcast and getting to hang out with you, and look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks at 8%. Amazing job once again.
Yeah, just can't wait to bring that $2 million check on stage, Cody. It's gonna be awesome.
Let's go. Also, real quick, if they want to learn more about Neishloss Fleming and yourself and reach out, what should we have them do?
I think the best way to learn about who we are as an organization is go to our YouTube channel. I mean, we're posting video, most of it focused on the Medicare market, virtually every single day. And it's not even just me. I mean, it's our whole team. Folks from our sales team, our compliance officer just did a big rundown. Check out our YouTube channel. And if you like what you see, you're gonna like us. So that's the best way to get a feel for who we are.
Let's go. Go check out the channel. Thank you for being on the podcast once again, Bill. Appreciate you. See you soon. And thank you guys for hanging out with us on the Power Player podcast. And go check out Bill and the Neishloss Fleming YouTube channel. They got amazing content, pumping out content every day specific to Medicare agents who want to aggressively scale their business. See you on the next podcast. Adios.
Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there.
I'm so excited for today's CA Power Player podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. We got a special guest. He is back on the channel talking about how to sell life insurance from home. Here's what I love about this person. Okay, I'm telling you, this will be one of the best.